Hi there plant fans, and welcome back to my channel The New Leaf. Thank you for stopping by today. So you can see in my hands here this rather sad looking Aspidistra. This is Aspidistra elatior. We're going to be repotting and rehabbing this plant today because, as you can see, it is in a very unhappy state. Lots of yellowing leaves, almost certainly extremely pot bound. So this was from a local gentleman called Clive. He also gave me a lovely begonia that you may have seen me resurrect in one of my other videos. Apparently this was his granny's Aspidistra. He thinks this is very much 70 plus years old, believe it or not. So that's over 70 years old. So obviously I was perhaps expecting a slightly larger plant to turn up than this, but I'm sure many of you know that Aspidistra are extremely hardy plants. They will put up with a lot of neglect, more so than many other house plants. They can withstand long periods of drought, so they're very good for people who underwater their plants. So I'm really hoping I can rehab this plant and get it looking really healthy again and back to its former glory, because they are really handsome plants, really lovely big green leaves when they're happy. So we're going to repot this today. I'm going to show you the whole process. It's going to be a complete surprise to me. I have not had a look in this pot, I promise you, but it weighs a lot. So I think we're probably going to find a lot of routage when we get it out of the pot. There's a random stick in there. I can see bits of elastic and other things going on. So join me as I hopefully rescue this Aspidistra today. I think the most sensible place to start before we even think about trying to get this beast out of its pot, I'm slightly dreading that and not thinking about it at the moment because this pot is very, very rigid indeed. So I think the best place to start is just by removing all of these horrible, sad, dry, crispy brown leaves. So I'm going to get snipping, and I expect I will speed the video up a bit for that bit because that may go on for some time. Right, so here we go. Now I promise you I've done absolutely nothing to this plant since I received it. Oh, that's just come away. Now I wonder if I can propagate that bit. Something to investigate. Something alive on there. I'm going to try and get something out of that if I can. Right, so off we go. So just to mention, I am also getting rid of any leaves with a lot of yellow on them or damage because they won't recover. So there's no point really leaving them on the plant because the plant will just waste its energy trying to improve those leaves rather than trying to make its whole self better. So we don't want that. Hopefully you'll agree that's looking much, much tidier and healthier now. It's certainly a better colour, that's for sure. And great news, when I removed all the dead stuff from the surface of the pot, I have discovered a couple of new shoots. I can see, I think, 3. Yay! So hopefully that's a good sign that it's been responding to some improved watering and feeding while it's been at the shop waiting to be repotted. I did want it to leave it to settle for a bit because poor old thing's obviously been through quite a lot. So I'll stick a close-up in of those new shoots because I'm really happy to see those. Hopefully that's a really good sign that it will be happier. I've also put the cutting that came out into a little bit of water until I investigate and research the best method to propagate that one, because there is actually a little new shoot on here as well. Don't know if you can see that there. There's a lovely little nubbin, so that's very encouraging. Okay, so now we're going to get to the fun part. I have to say, as I mentioned, I am absolutely dying to know what is going on under the surface of this soil. So we're going to try and get this monster out. So first of all, I'm going to take out this rose stick. Oh, I've got a moss pole that needs extending, actually, thinking about it. My Epipremnum pinnatum variegata desperately needs a pole extending. So I will definitely be hanging on to that. Thank you, Clive. Right, so I think this is going to be quite hard to get out. So I've got a butter knife here, so I'm just going to run this, oh it feels quite loose in there actually, round the edge of the pot. A bit like if you were trying to get a stubborn cake out of the tin. So we're going to run this round here. I'm being very careful of these new sprouts because I really don't want to hurt them. So we'll just work our way round very carefully. Ooh. Oh dear, that is a bit precarious. Right, okay, hopefully that's any movement there. Ooh, there's not a lot. Okay, now let's have a little go and see if we can do anything here yet. A little squeeze. Oh, this pot is so rigid. This is why I do not use these outdoor thick plastic pots, because you can't squeeze the plant to get it out again. Any movement at all. Ooh. Oh, it's coming. Oh, here it comes, here it comes. Oh, look at that. Okay, we've got some bits of broken crocks in the bottom. Right, I'm just going to carefully put that down there. Wow, and we are free. Okay, what have we got? Okay, oh, there's no rotten roots. That's excellent news, or at least very few. I can see a few brown ones. Oh my goodness. I can see that there's almost no drainage in this soil. Oh yes, we're losing a lot of roots down here, but we do have lots of nice firm white roots as well, so we'll just try and loosen the rest of this soil, and then I will get rid of it and we can have a proper look. Oh dear, look at all those rotten roots that fell away. Poor old thing. I think it will definitely be going back in a smaller pot. Okay, so I've had a bit of a clear down. So what we've got left now, we have been left with 4 pieces here. Just show you those. So we do have lots and lots of healthy, firm white roots, I am very happy to say. So it looks as though this might be all right. If there was a lot more root rot, I might be a bit concerned. Oh dear, we're still losing some roots there, look. But no, this looks like there's lots of healthy roots here, so we can start again and hopefully get this plant back to its former glory. I'm just going to give these a quick spray with some weak hydrogen peroxide solution while I'm getting their new soil together. So this stuff is very good for killing the bacteria that actually causes root rot. So hopefully this will help safeguard against the roots of this plant rotting in the future. Obviously nothing is guaranteed, especially given the state it was in, poor old thing. But we'll give this a good spray and then hopefully it will help it to stay healthy. Right, so our roots have been sitting in their hydrogen peroxide spray for a little minute now. So we're going to prepare the pot and then we are going to put him in his new house. And hopefully he will be much, much happier. So I have found a slightly smaller pot with nice squishy sides. So when it comes to repotting him, hopefully when he's enormous and vigorous, in say 2 or 3 years, I'll actually be able to get him out. So just talk to you about this soil mixture for a minute. So this is basically my standard aroid mixture. So as I'm sure a lot of you know, aroids like a really nice chunky mix because it's a good way of trying to replicate the conditions that they grow in the wild. So they'd be scrambling up bigger trees and plants, hanging on to various nooks and crannies where they can to help secure themselves into their position. So in here we've got, so I should mention I am fully peat free when I mix my own soil. I also sell this mix in my shop. So the basis of this is coir compost. You might hear it referred to as cocoa peat as well. So this is actually a byproduct of the coconut industry. There are now a few discussions going on about whether this is actually a sustainable way of going forward with a peat-free mix. But it's the best I've got at the moment, so I'm going to carry on with my coir. So I've got coir compost, I've got lots of worm castings in there because coir is itself nutritionally devoid. Then I have got some coarse bark, I've got some cocoa husk as well, because that's a little bit more water retentive than coarse bark. I've got lots of perlite in there and a few other bits of drainage material. So these guys really are not that fussy about soil because they are so easy to care for and hardy. But I would say at the very least, make sure you've got a good bit of perlite in there to make sure that all the water is able to drain away from your soil and it doesn't become too compact. Right, so we're going to start filling our pot. So I'm probably going to do this about maybe just under halfway full, I should think, because we've got quite a lot of roots to get in there. So I'm just tapping this down because it is an airy mix, so we want to make sure we don't have air pockets in the soil because it is very chunky. So we'll just have a little measure and see how we're doing. I'm just going to pop that down there for a second. So our biggest piece, my goodness, look at these. No, I'm so thrilled with what we've managed to rescue here. So our biggest piece is this one, I think. Or is it this one? About the same. So we've got all these lovely roots here. So we want to try and make sure that this rhizomy stemmy part is near the top of the soil. We basically want to make sure that that's the same depth that it was before, because otherwise it might have a grump. So I think I would like those to be pointing out that way, because that would be sort of where they naturally sit in the pot. So we might have to get rid of that knobbly bit there, because I think that is going to be just too wide. So we're going to just snip that off there. So that should now make that a bit easier to fit in. Yep, so he will go in there. Now our next biggest piece is here. So we'll pop in there. And the next bits don't have as many roots, so I think I'm going to now start adding some soil. Now I've got these roughly in position. So just start chucking in some nice handfuls of our chunky mix. Again, giving it a good tap as you go. So that's now getting a bit easier to keep in position. So I'm going to just secure that bit in place there, or try to. That's a little bit deep, there we go. So again, being very careful of these new sprouts. We just want to make sure that we don't accidentally snap those off, because that would be a real shame. So those are more or less in place. So before we fill too much, we're just going to get these other pieces in, or we won't be able to get them in. So I think I'm going to pop that bit in there. Careful with those nice roots. Here you go. There we go. So just adding more soil to anchor that little one into place before we sort the rest of them out. So you're coming over here, so I think this little one will go nicely in this little gap here. There we go. There we go, perfect. Last bit of soil. Give it another good tap. Using your fingers to make sure you are getting into all those air gaps. There we go. We are getting there, people. So we just need a bit more on this side because he is a bit fally ovary. That's a botanical term, by the way. Oh, we are nearly there. Now I'm probably going to give this a little water because it will help anchor things into place. Don't know why I said probably there. I am definitely going to give this a little water. There we go. And that again will help get rid of any little naughty air pockets in the soil. So give that a little firm, and I think we can just squeeze a little more. Oh, I've just seen another sprout. There's another tiny one. Brilliant. So there we go. I do have the habit of overfilling my pots, but I'm going to try not to in this case, as I'm supposed to be trying to teach people things here. Right, I think that is nearly there. Right, little firm down. Right, I think we're there. So, another little bit of water, that is still feeling a bit light. So give me a good drink, because this is a new batch of soil, so it is a bit dry. Sneaky root there, get in there. Right, so that's done. I'm going to take him outside and give him a little shower and a clean up, and I'll be back with you very shortly. So it's had a lovely shower to clean off all that soil from repotting, and I think you'll agree that Mrs. Aspidistra here is looking very, very happy indeed. So I'll probably give her a good feed. That will be a dilute feed because I doubt she's ever been fed before, and obviously she's been through a bit of a trauma. So I don't want to shock her roots, so yeah, I'll be giving her a nice dilute feed, probably in maybe a week or two. Just a quick whistle-stop tour through this plant's care. As I mentioned, it is a really, really easy care plant. So it's called the cast iron plant because it is just so rock solid and reliable. So light-wise, this guy doesn't like direct sun because it will burn the leaves, but it does like a fairly bright position out of direct sunlight. So that's pretty easy for most of us to achieve. I know quite a few people put these in their north-facing windows, so they're getting a lot of light, but you don't have to worry about anything burning. Soil-wise, as I mentioned before, they like a nice free-draining mix, but really aren't fussy as to what the ingredients of that mix are. So just make sure at the least you've got some perlite or grit in there. But if you do have some bark around, they do like a few nice chunky chunks to wrap those thick roots around, so chuck a bit in if you've got some. So as regards to watering, these guys can withstand quite long periods of drought, so they are very good if you are a bit of an underwaterer. So I'd say in normal circumstances, you can almost completely let the pot dry out before you give it a really, really good drink. Again, making sure that your pot has drainage holes if it's inside a pretty ceramic pot, so that all that water is able to drain away, because guys like this with thick roots are quite susceptible to root rot if their roots are sat in water for a long period of time. But you should find them really easy to get on with. They're brilliant plants. I love how many customers are still fond of Aspidistras. I sort of associate them maybe with kind of a 60s, 70s kind of vibe.
Oh, wow.
But I love the way people keep coming back to the old classics like these. Peace lilies, spider plants, you know, all those sorts of things. They're all still really popular. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have picked up some useful tips today, especially if you've got a bit of a poorly Aspidistra at home that needs a bit of extra TLC. Please do hit those like and subscribe buttons if you found this useful and you like to see some of my other videos. And please do drop a comment below. I'd love to hear if you have any rehab success stories, especially with Aspidistra or any other classic houseplants. So thanks again very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.